Well, hello. I'm Lexi, and this is the Prodigal's Purpose podcast. Today, I want to talk about the vision, okay? How did I come up with this idea? What am I doing? What is this? I already addressed what I'm doing, but I want to get into depth of the vibe and the theme. I'm a theme girly. I love me a plan. I want all the details ironed out before I do something. I'm very much a planner, which growing up, I was chaotic and messy and spontaneous. So I don't know when the switch happened, if you will, but either way, I love me a plan. So to start off, the title, The Prodigal's Purpose, right? A lot of time when people hear the word prodigal, everybody always goes to the story in the Bible, Luke 15, of one of arguably Jesus's most famous parables, the best one in my opinion, which is the prodigal son. And I'm going to give you a recap of it real quick, Lexi edition. But the vibe of the story goes, a very wealthy father, had two sons. And the younger son comes to his father and says, I want my inheritance now. And the father loved his son, and so he gave him his inheritance. And the bozo went out of town and spent it on booze and prostitutes, all the worst things you could spend it on. Wasted it away. And the place he lived had financial hardships, and boom, no more money. Automatically gone, okay? And so then he, gets into despair, and he becomes a lowly servant, eaten with pigs, just rock bottom. And he decides, you know what? The servants and slaves at my parents' house get treated way better than me eating with pigs. And so talk about like a humble walk of shame, really. He walks back home. And I mean, if anybody was in that situation, I would get, a firm lashing. I would get my dad being like, tough luck. Like, this is what you did it to yourself, right? But as he's approaching his home, his father sees him far away in the distance. And his father just runs to him, which I just love that visual of like the father just running to him. Because I bet every step felt pretty heavy for that son. So the father runs to him and embraces his son. He said, my son was dead, but now he's alive. He gets him sandals and a robe and a ring and kills the fattened calf and throws this major rave, a huge party for his son. And a lot of people really love this story because in any human experience, we all resonate with the prodigal son. We all resonate with, I made a terrible decision. I messed up. It's too big. Like, God won't love me. I'm too far gone. And then when we picture God the Father being that wonderful and good dad to run and to forgive and to embrace and to rejoice in his son coming back to him. And so our life is full of countless conversions. And whenever I feel like I'm too far gone or whenever I've had those low moments, I just always resonate being the prodigal son. And so that's where we get the word the prodigal. But I've always reflected and thought about this, and I don't know if there's a textbook question. It's a made-up story where Jesus teaches us a deeper meaning, so I can't wait to ask him. But that's where the story ends. Well, they talk about the older brother, which we'll get into later, whatever. But like they throw this party at the end. Like that's the end, okay? So my question has always been, like, then what happens, right? Like, where's chapter 2 or where's like the sequel? And it's not a real story. But what I wonder is, okay, the son hit rock bottom, realized what life was like without his dad, realized what life was like being obsessed with worldly things, squandering it, giving in to pleasures and temptations, and it left him beaten, broken, and worse off. And he came home, okay? He knew, like, my father's house is where I should be. And so my question is, what does he do that next day? After receiving that mercy, that love, that joy, what's the son going to do with that? Is he going to be faithful to his dad? Is he going to make really big changes and live out his life completely differently because of the compassion his father shown? Is he going to mess up again? Is he going to get sucked back in or tempted again? And will he return back to his father? I mean, it's like when little kids do the what if questions to you. Oh my goodness, which it just is the spiraling, never ending, there's no perfect answer for it, right? And it's a make-believe story. So the fact that I'm spending so many moons thinking about this, it's what I do. But either way, what's the son's purpose? Like, what does he do after he has this amazing life experience and this conversion? And so that's what I want this podcast to be. And that's what I want the vibe, the theme. I want it to be about, what do we do after we turn back to God? Because I'm so stupid, or not stupid. I was so naive that I thought, okay, like when people grow up, like they mess up, but then like when they get back to Jesus, like boom, magic, everything's great, happily ever after, right off into the sunset. And I don't know about y'all, but it hasn't been like that for me. And I have still hit some lows, and I've still, looped down and messed up and had to keep returning to him, just constantly returning to him. And he's always there and always welcoming to me. But how am I changed from this return? And how am I changed from my third return and my 50th return? And what am I going to do about it? Because someone is truly changed throughout their actions in their life and what they do about it. Somebody can buy a gym membership and say they're gonna, get fit, get healthy, but you're not gonna believe them till you see them going to the gym, 4 days a week and being consistent about it. I want proof of the pudding, if you will. And so that's what I resonated with, and I kind of envisioned for myself is I want this to be my purpose. I've returned to God countless times, probably going to be a couple more. Sorry, Jesus. But I want there to be purpose behind it. I want there to be a lesson learned, and I want there to be knowledge gained and vulnerability to get deeper and more open, and for that suffering to have more meaning and to be more united to Christ each time, and to make that return as well quicker and quicker and quicker, because I'm going to keep returning, and I'm going to keep returning, and I'm going to keep messing up. But I want that time away from him to get shorter and shorter till ideally I'm just always with him. So that's where the prodigal's purpose comes from, is after that conversion, after the Father runs to us and we come home and we get that embrace, what do we do? And that's what I want this to be. I want it to be a place to explore our faith, to ask the tough questions, to talk about the topics that have been really hard to live out as a follower of Christ. Just because you turn to God doesn't mean that things get easier. I would argue they get harder. So that's the vibe, the prodigal's purpose. Yeah, I just think everybody resonates with that running back from the sun. I know I do, and I just get so much comfort in it. And I get confidence to keep running back to him from that beautiful story. And so to be on theme, I picked patron saints. I love a good theme, okay? Don't fight me. Either way, I picked 2 patron saints that I think really encompass the running back to the Father. And then also that finding their purpose after they ran back. So I had to pick a boy and a girl, represent everybody. And so the first one, who I just love her, is Mary Magdalene. What a boss, okay? Like, so cool. The super quick recap that I have for you is, it's speculated she was possessed by like 7 demons at once, and Jesus performed one of the first like exorcisms on her. Struggle bus. Like, talk about stress. 7 demons. No, thank you. Then she becomes a homie with Jesus and follows around with his 12. So she gets to like become BFFs with Jesus, hang out with Jesus. It is said that she is one of the women that stayed with Mary throughout Jesus' crucifixion when, sorry boys, but 10 of the apostles ditched and hid or denied. Good job, John. She stayed by Christ's side and also was comforting to Mary. And probably arguably the coolest, biggest flex of all time is she is the first person to encounter the risen Christ. What a mic drop. Coming from the demon-possessed girl, it also was speculated she was a prostitute. So, living a really dark, sinful life, to becoming Jesus's besties, to being so loyal to him to the end, to the ugliest part, and probably the hardest part of his human experience. And then you get to be numero uno to who he appears to first about the greatest miracle of all time, the resurrection. She's a homie. She's also a patron saint of conversions. And so on theme. Love my girl, Mary Magdalene. The next one is St. Augustine. I mean, let's be real. I picked some of the top. I mean, all saints are amazing, but these are 2 of my faves for sure. Quick recap of St. Augustine, Lexi edition, is he was kind of a known party animal all over the place. His poor mama prayed for his conversion, and he was kind of really vocal and anti the church. He actually had a child out of wedlock. He was just unwell, okay? Living of this world for sure. Definitely tempted by worldly things and pleasures, and knocked the Christian faith, just denied and beat it down. But he's a really smart dude. What I love about this story is his mother, who's also a saint, runs in the family. The fact that Monica didn't give up on him and just prayed for him. And it took a long time, but God answered her prayers. So I love the connection there with that. But then he has this ultra conversion and becomes a bishop, thanks to St. Ambrose. Good job. Tons of saints in this little clique. And then his writings, the Confession of St. Augustine, and becomes a doctor of the church. And I just got to say, he just has some mic drop quotes that there are times when I like kind of feel disconnected or kind of feel disheartened or like, what am I doing? Where am I going? I just want to have that like little spark back of excitement for my faith. Just Google some St. Augustine quotes and you're going to get back on fire. I love the dude. I have to share with you one of my favorites. So one of my favorites that I feel like is super on theme is, "You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you." And I think that really encompasses the whole prodigal vibe of we're never going to be happy. Nothing's ever going to be enough for us until we rest in Jesus and come back to Jesus. So those are our patron saints. I know, I did a great job, I'm telling you. And the next thing is, I did pick a Bible verse. Dude, I just love a good theme. I picked a Bible verse, and quick story on that. My branded, me personal go-to Bible verse, I write it with my signature for everything, is Romans 8:18, which is, "For I consider that the sufferings of this present time cannot compare to the joy that is to come." I love that one. It's just all about hope. And I've been a hopeless girly for many a times. And so I love Romans. I love Paul's writing in that. And I just resonate with that a lot. So Romans 8:18 is mine. It's not ours. It's not for the podcast. But as I was exploring, I love chapter 8. And I'm like, I bet there's something good here. And I remembered a dear friend of mine, her Bible verse is Romans 8:28. And so I looked it up, and it is so spot on, perfect for this podcast. Romans 8:28 goes, "We know that in everything God works for good with those who love him, who are called according to his purpose." So I'm not gonna lie, I got a little shivers, had a little God moment, if you will. Just that word purpose and what my vision was for the podcast. I already had the title made up before I looked this up, but it just gives you this push of, if we have true trust and confidence in God, then we know that everything that happens to us and whatever occurs and whatever we accomplish is all according to his plan. Just having that total faith, that total trust in what he wants for us and what he wills for us. So Romans 8:28, that's the Bible verse. And then I will also say, visual wise, if you can't already tell, the main logo is kind of a combination of two things I really love. So the visual of the prodigal son, probably the most famous visual of the prodigal son, is the running on the road. Okay? And so I really felt it was important to have a road somewhere in the logo design. And so in the middle of the logo, there is a road. But as you see, what it leads up to, instead of like, the Father running to the Son, it's us going towards the cross. Because that is the most beautiful, genuine, sacrificial, perfect expression of what true love really is. And I just feel like it's such a big symbol of love whenever I think of Christ's love for me. And so in the middle of the logo is a path leading up to the cross. Because the only way we can become holy is through our suffering, especially if we unite it with Christ's suffering. And then my favorite symbol of all time, which we can share, is the Sacred Heart. Okay, I love the Sacred Heart. So I wanted to merge both things together. So it might be a little busy, but I don't care because it's my podcast. And so we have the Sacred Heart image. I love it because it's raw, it's real, it's fleshy, it's messy, but there's like this romantic beautifulness, if that's a word, about the Sacred Heart. Like there's the cross on it, to show the true act of love, which is Christ dying for us. And then there's the flames showing Christ's burning passion for us. And then we have the crown of thorns, just reminding us what all he went through. But it's just this beautiful blend of the ugliest, probably experience Christ ever had on earth, being transformed by the most beautiful act of sacrificial love we could ever express. And so the Sacred Heart is definitely the theme, the vibe, And so lastly is kind of like the go-to saying, which is ponder the purpose, embrace the journey, live the conversion. And we'll break it down. So ponder the purpose. I think this one is really important. I think whenever we make big choices in life, or whenever we do something huge, whether it's good or bad for us, it's good to look back on the why. Why am I doing this? What point is there to this? And sometimes when you reflect on that, you get humbled real quick of like, wow, I was literally seeking validation from my friends. Or wow, I was literally just trying to distract myself for 20 minutes. When really the purpose behind everything we should be doing is to grow closer to Christ or to be Christ-like to others. So pondering the purpose, that's a huge focus for this podcast, is why are we doing all of this? And what is your purpose? Because if you don't know what your purpose is, you're just going to be wandering and lost. And I hate that feeling. And you probably do too. Then embrace the journey. Okay? I always think back to the prodigal son. I would be dragging my feet home to my dad. I'd be so scared. But life doesn't go as you planned it, as I've learned like 40 different times. God laughs when we try to make plans, right? And so whether your journey is sunshine and rainbows right now, or whether your journey is terrible, you don't even feel like you lost the road, like you don't even know where you're going, it's really important to embrace it. Because if we just act in denial and act against God, we're just going to suffer more. Whereas when we unite Christ in our suffering, when we invite him in and he walks alongside with us, there can be a lot of fruits and goodness that comes out of that journey. And, that experience might lead you to, a beautiful moment or beautiful point of conversion where you learn something, you realize something, you offer it up for something, and it becomes bigger and more beautiful than you realize. So ponder the purpose, embrace the journey, and lastly, live the conversion. This kind of just ties back to everything of what are you going to do? What are you going to do once you had that real encounter? You know he's real. You know he exists. You've embraced your faith. You've been embraced by Christ. Now what? And so challenging ourselves, growing, being honest where we failed and where we've messed up, but learning from that and becoming better by that, and then sharing that with others. I think that's such an important part of our faith journey as well. So we love a good theme. If you can't tell, theme is like the word of the day. And if you can't tell, I have put in just a little bit of thought into this. I've prayed about it a lot. And I will say probably the most miraculous part of all of this is it all just came together so beautifully and so easy. It just kind of flowed out. There were times after Mass I stayed a couple minutes and laying in my bed, or even kneeling at my bed just praying about it, or on my drive just thinking about it. And it just got wove together so intricately and beautifully, and surprised me in the coolest ways, that I was like, yeah, God, this could be cool. I'm down. The whole vibe, it's giving. I like it. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more insight of the purpose behind the prodigal's purpose. And next we'll get to really dive in and actually start. I feel like this is legit episode 1. So sorry about episode 0, then episode 1, whatever. Hey, I'm in charge. It's fine. No, he's in charge. Again, if you stumbled upon this and something spoke to you, please feel free to share with a friend. Or if you stumbled upon this and you're still what is this girl doing? She's crazy. Just keep praying that this passion project of mine becomes what God wants it to be, most importantly. I just want all of you to have a beautiful day. And don't forget to ponder the purpose, embrace the journey, and live the conversion. Thank you.